ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Bucks, Bills. Once again, the Buffalo Bills make things more complicated than they need to be. This game should have been over at 24-10 multiple times. Somehow, the Buccaneers were able to score a touchdown, convert a two-point conversion, cut it to 6, get the football back with minimal time left, had a chance to down it at the 1, didn't do it, put the ball at the 20, gave them a couple of short completions, even gave them a 5-yard penalty to make the Hail Mary even more reasonable. And then, again, if Chris Godwin is able to locate the football, as Kirk Herbstreit said a little bit earlier, I don't think I've ever seen a Hail Mary in my life. I think this is the first time, and I've watched a lot of football. I don't think I've ever seen a Hail Mary hit the ground in the end zone without a soul touching it. Like, that thing landed in the middle of like 8 people. And the closest person to the ball was a Bucs wide receiver. And had he saw the football just a tad bit sooner, Chris Godwin would have had a chance to make a miracle finish. And the Buccaneers would have somehow stormed out of Highmark Stadium with the win. Unbelievable. But instead, it's just a harmless, Hail Mary. They lose the game 24-18, and all is right with the world if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, at least because you won. But there's still a lot of issues. I think the thing you got to be most excited about if you're a Bills fan is that tonight Josh Allen looked like Josh Allen. Now, there was that brief scare, obviously, where he gets injured and has to go into the tent. But again, wasn't in there very long, didn't even miss a single snap. But the fact that he even went in there meant something was wrong, at least temporarily, and, could have some lasting effects. This is why it's important to find a way to win on Thursday night. Now you've got a pseudo bye. So even if there is something bothering him, he's a little sore tomorrow, he's got 10 days between now and the next game to get better, get as much treatment as necessary to feel much better. But he looked like the Josh Allen that we've come to know and love. As a matter of fact, we haven't seen this version of Josh Allen. To me, personally, I haven't seen this version of Josh Allen since week 2 against the Raiders, I believe it was. So maybe even week 3 against the Commanders. I thought he was really good in that game too. But the Raiders game was Josh Allen at his best to me. And Josh Allen is Josh Allen. And I heard them during the telecast talk about wanting Josh Allen to kind of dial it back a bit so he's healthier at the end of the season. Well, again, and I thought Kirk Herbstreit once again made a great point. Yeah, that's all fine and well that you want to dial him back and you don't want him to be as aggressive and you don't want him using his legs as much. You don't want him taking as many risks. But you're losing football games. Games that you should be winning, games that you usually win. You're losing games. And what good is Josh Allen at 95% come December, January, when you're fighting to just barely make the playoffs, if at all? Like, you have a division to protect. The Dolphins aren't effing around. If you're serious about winning this division, you got to get on your horse, start winning some games, and start beating teams that you're supposed to beat. And not to look at Jacksonville like some chump, but you need to find a way to beat Jacksonville. Not to look at the Patriots like some chump, but they some chumps. You're supposed to beat the Patriots. And I get it. It's family business and shit happens. I get it. But you got to start winning football games. And so I thought he looked more like the Josh Allen that we've come to know and love. The guy that's going to run when it's available, the guy that's going to extend, try to make something happen. And that's who they need. That's who they need. Here's what I want him to stop doing, which I haven't seen as much of since early in the season. It's still there because he's still Josh Allen, but I don't want to see, and he did this in the Raiders game, and I don't want to see this. Stop trying to jump over people, especially when you're 7 yards away from the end zone. Stop trying to jump over people 4 yards away from the first down marker. Don't do that. That's the stupid shit that you can eliminate and just be smarter about what you're doing and put yourself out of harm's way, right? But I still need Josh Allen to run. And you saw the signs, run, Forrest, crossed out Forrest, run, Josh, run. And you saw how excited and happy the fans were when he finally ran into the end zone and scored the touchdown. And you saw him go over to the fans like, hey, I ran. Are you happy now? You're damn right. We're happy. You know, if you're a Bills fan, because that's who you are. We're at our best when you're a threat as a runner. We know you can throw the football 105 miles an hour to whoever. And we know you can be pinpoint accurate while doing it on the run at times. We know all of these things to be truths. We also know that you're at your best, we're at our best, and we're the most dangerous when you are a threat as a runner. And so I thought we saw a little bit of that tonight. I think there's still a process here that they're going through with Ken Dorsey. They still haven't gotten to where they were with Brian Daboll, and they may never get there, right? But there still is this, process that they're going through, and this may be who they are, right? This might be the best of who they are with Ken Dorsey as their offensive coordinator. They're going to have to figure it out, but it was good to see guys get involved like Khalil Shakir. He was outstanding. He was your leading receiver tonight. You're going to need guys like him to step up, okay? Because as the season wears on and teams start to try to take away, Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, there needs to be another option. And you got fantastic tight end play, and you got some really good play again today out of your first-round pick, Dawson Knox. You didn't even – or not Dawson Knox, excuse me. Dalton Kincaid. Dawson Knox obviously didn't play tonight, but, when he's available and you can go to 2 tight end sets, that's a dangerous personnel grouping. But when you go to 11 and you got to bring in that third receiver, you need that third receiver to step up. And if you can get what you got out of Khalil Shakir tonight moving forward, that's going to be huge for this offense because it just gives them another target and another option that you've got to be very cognizant of in the past game that can hurt you. So that was huge tonight. They're going to need a little bit more from the run game. What did James Cook do tonight? And it just felt in the moment watching the game, didn't feel like he was that big of an impact. And early in the season, he was playing really well. And it seemed like that run game was really going to be something big for them. Yeah, I mean, he had a solid game. You can't complain about 14 carries, 67 yards. That's over 4 yards, heading towards 5 yards per pop. So you can't be too upset about that. But there was a stretch of ball there where he was up over 120 yards. It felt like 2-3 games in a row. And I feel like they can get back to that a little bit. But Josh Allen using his legs, 7 rushes, 41 yards, alleviates the need for James Cook to be as big of an impact in the run game. So that's why it's important for Josh to use his legs as well. But I think the bigger question for me with this Bills team, and I said this last week after you lost to New England, is the defense. And while you held a very conservative and offensively challenged Bucs offense to 10 points for most of the night, and you got after Baker Mayfield, you made him uncomfortable, and you were able to kind of stymie them. And shout out to your punter. Let me get the punter's name because he was effing outstanding tonight. And, not often enough, I think punters get their just due when they flip field position, when they're able to pin teams in their own territory. Sam Martin was stupid tonight, dumb, and a lot of people get caught into the average per punt. But if you're not watching a game and you just look at a punter's average, you can never really truly know what the punter's doing if you're just checking the box score. Sam Martin had 4 punts tonight. 3 were down inside the 20. 3 of them were down inside the 10. Three of them were down inside the 5, and it could have been a 4th It was literally right there. And if the gunner had been able to tap it backwards, they probably pinned them inside the 5 for the 4th time tonight. Literally, the Buccaneers spent a quarter of the game pinned up against their own goal line, trying to fight their way out. And that makes it tough, especially when you're offense like Tampa Bay. We'll get to that in a second. But just shout out to Sam Martin for being an absolute weapon tonight. But this defense, I know Von Miller's, getting back to where he needs to be. I think Gumby is banged up. I didn't see him tonight. Let me see if he, recorded a tackle or anything. I don't recall seeing Gumby at all tonight. And my guess is he's banged up because he was already looking a little banged up earlier in the season. Let's see. No, he was out there. Gumby was out there. I didn't hear his name called at all. It was not a factor. Gumby is Leonard Floyd, by the way. I call him Gumby. You really didn't get anything outside of AJ Epineza and Ed Oliver. Felt like you really didn't get anything from a pass rushing standpoint from anybody else. Felt like Baker Mayfield, even though he had to move around a ton to create more time in the pocket, he felt like he had time tonight, though. And even the AJ Epineza sack, he had 15 seconds to throw the football, and that sack's not on Tristan Wirfs because Baker Mayfield had all day to throw the football. He held on to it too long, and they ended up taking a sack. But you had 2 opportunities to get off the field, to win the game, and you had penalties on both of those plays, and then you allow the touchdown, then you allow the 2-point conversion. And it seems like this defense has not been bad this season. Okay? Let me make this abundantly clear. With more offensive firepower and scoring, which we talked about the Bills' red zone efficiency, they had a 4th down failed at the 1-yard line. And I think I got a handle on why we keep seeing NFL teams struggle inside the red zone, more so this year than ever before. I think there's this reluctancy for some reason that I don't know if teams are just so oblivious to the fact that you can run the ball under center. But this obsession, this fascination with running out of gun down by the goal line is the stupidest shit I can remember offensive teams doing as a trend around the league, because the shit doesn't work. Yet, week after week, I see teams line up 5 yards away from the end zone, which the ball is literally a yard away from the end zone, but they're going to put their quarterback 5 yards away from the end zone, and they're going to have him hand it to a guy that isn't getting a running start, by the way, and then try to bogard their way into the end zone with no fullback, no guidance into the end zone, and they think that this is a smart method to try to get the football into the end zone. I am baffled, befuddled, I have been absolutely flummoxed as to why NFL teams on a weekly basis think it's smart to go gun from the 1 to try to run the football into the end zone. I am speechless on that topic. But week after week, I see the shit not work, and I just shake my head in disbelief. Bills were yet another victim that falls prey to thinking that a gun run from the 1 is the way to go. Then they try to throw it, and the Bucs were so smart. And we'll talk about that when we get to Tampa. But anyway, that's part of the problem with the Bills, is they're not scoring touchdowns in the red zone as effectively and efficiently as they usually do. Okay, but that's league-wide for the most part. But that's on them. They should have scored more points, and this game should not have been within striking distance. Even though it was a 14-point game, should not have been there. Should have been out of reach. But even with that said, defensively for Buffalo, it's not how much they're giving up. It's when they're giving it up. And I get that the offense can do more, and I'm not telling you that when you score 14 points, I've already said this. If the opposition gives up 14, you should lose the game. If you can't score more than 14 points, you have no business winning the game. You won a game 2 weeks ago in which your defense surrendered 9 points, but your offense only scored 14, which left you vulnerable with the chance to lose. But guess what? You're playing a Giants football team who hasn't scored a quarter at that time, hadn't scored a touchdown in 13 quarters, including that entire game. They need a touchdown, not a field goal. And all you need is one stop. And you couldn't get it until they got all the way to the 1 yard line. And a penalty easily could have been thrown on that final play in which the game ended with a defensive stop. Easily could have been thrown. Last week, for as difficult of a watch as it probably was for Bills fans, struggling in the red zone, leaving points out on the field, and allowing a Patriots team that isn't very good to hang around, you score a touchdown with less than 2 minutes to go in the game, and you've got an opportunity now defensively to close the show. Get one stop, and the game is over. And against a struggling Patriots offense that had done next to nothing all season long, you let them move it all the way down the field. And unlike the week prior against New York, you weren't able to stop them from getting in the end zone, and they win the football game. Tonight, similar set of circumstances, quite different outcome, but once again, a lot more difficult than it needed to be. You're up 2 scores at 24-10. You got 2 different, and you did your job. You forced Tampa Bay to nickel and dime, to burn up a ton of clock, to leave themselves with very few options. You had 2 fourth downs that you got stops, but then you had 2 penalties on both of those fourth downs that extended those drives, and then you gave up a touchdown to Mike Evans. And then you give up the subsequent 2-point conversion. So now that Hail Mary, if it's complete, an extra point beats you. What are we doing here, the Buffalo defense? What are we doing? Why is it that we can't get a stop? This is why you went out and got Von Miller. This is why you went out and got Gumby. This is why you fortify your pass rush so that in these, this has always been the Achilles heel. When we go back to the Chiefs game in the divisional round, 2 years ago, 13 seconds, whatever it was, we're talking about the same thing, the inability to get to the other team's quarterback when the game is on the line. The more things change, the more they seem to stay the same with this Buffalo Bills team. Until they're able to close out games by getting to the other team's quarterback, getting off the field when it matters most. They were really good tonight. They gave up 10 points for the most part of the night. But when they needed to make a stop, they could not do it. And that's when it is most important that your pass rush show up. And it doesn't show up for them. And I get it, Von Miller's still working his way back. He almost had a sack late in the game, but he didn't get the sack. And they did get a Hail Mary. And it almost was complete. They've got to find a way in those situations when the game is in the balance to get a defensive stop. And not the kind that has your fans at the edge of their seat praying that the other team doesn't find a way to punch it in. I'm talking about first set of downs, 4th and 13, and you get a stop and the game is over. Or they get 1 first down and now it's 4th and 7, you get a stop, game over. Or you get a sack, they got no timeouts, the clock is running, and it's essentially all she wrote. Again, your defense didn't play poorly against the Giants when you gave up 9 points. But when you needed a stop, they weren't able to do it. Not until the very end of the game, literally. Your defense played well against New England. Not as good as other teams have been playing against New England, but it's family business. I'm willing to turn a blind eye to what happened because that's family business. Shit happens that is unexplainable sometimes when 2 family members meet. It ain't my family business, so I stay out of it. But all I know is With less than 2 minutes to go, Josh Allen took that Bills offense down the field and scored a touchdown and left the defense in a position where all they needed was a stop to win the game. And they couldn't get it. Tonight, you're up 2 scores. No one should be sweating. This shouldn't be complicated. If I'm a Bills fan, I'm thinking this is more like it. I'm kikiing on the sidelines. Josh Allen's feeling like the game's over. And yet there's a couple of penalties. You know, it's still the Bucs. They still stink. They can't score. And then they score a touchdown, and then they go for 2. And now all of a sudden you're just up 6. You get the big first down that you need offensively. So you've essentially closed this thing out on offense. You've done what you needed to do. And then you get to that last, and that was totally the right decision to punt the ball. Totally the right decision. Your punter's been on fire the entire night. He does it again. You can't down it inside the 5 this time. But he did his job again. But they still got to go 80 yards. And we know this Buccaneers offense, we're going to get to it in a second, isn't capable of really doing that. So, and they only have 21 seconds. So really, what difference does it make anyway? And you still let them get into a position where they could throw a Hail Mary. And again, nobody touches the football. I've never seen a Hail Mary from that far away be thrown and it land in the end zone without a single soul touching it. I've seen them go out of the back of the end zone. I've seen them land short of the end zone. I've never seen one land in the middle of a sea of players and nobody touches it. Unbelievable. So if you're a Buccaneers fan, let's flip the script. Big win though. If you're Buffalo, just win. God damn it. Just find a way to win. And that's what you did. You're 5-3. You wipe your brow. You know, you can complain about some things if you like, but you won the game. You get your pseudo bye. You lick your wounds. You come back healthy next week, and you try to find a way to do it again. Find a way to do it again. If you're Tampa Bay, after starting the season off 2-0, then 3-1, you've now lost 3 in a row. You're 3-4. This is who you are, though. This is exactly who you are. And the biggest complaint I have about Tampa Bay is their inability to be explosive. Everything, and this is Baker Mayfield, really, in a nutshell, who he is as a quarterback, or what he's morphed into. When he got into the league, he was a guy that could push the football vertically, and he could be dynamic. And again, some of it is structurally, you know, the offense that you're in, what you're being asked to do. But Baker Mayfield really, since maybe his 3rd year in the league, when they made it to the playoffs, they beat the Steelers on the road. Really, since then, he hasn't really been a vertical threat quarterback, a guy that can push the football down the field. Everything's really been underneath, dink and dunk. That's going back to his Cleveland days. And then you get to, you know, all the different stops. Carolina, same thing. You know, Rams, for the most part, same thing. You know, and now he's here in Tampa Bay, and the vertical passing game. And we saw this last year with Brady, right? One of the biggest issues with Tampa Bay was the lack of vertical explosiveness. Like 2 years, you know, the first year Brady got there when it was Uncle Bruce. Right? No risk it, no biscuit. The complaint was we don't throw the ball short. Everything's chucking it deep. We're too damn aggressive. You go from that season where they're throwing bombs left and right, Scotty Miller, you know, Mike Evans, you name it. Whomever's out there, they're catching deep balls, man. To not being able to push the ball vertically. Everything's underneath, everything's short. And this is who they are offensively. And I've talked about this, and we saw this even in their 2-0 start. Everything has to go to script for them to have a chance to win. There is no margin for error when your offense is as reliant on being perfect, efficient. You can't be in 3rd and 9 offensively if you're Tampa Bay. Your offense isn't built to convert 3rd and 9. Damn sure it's not built to convert 3rd and 13. Okay. So you can't have penalties. You really can't afford a wasted snap. You don't run the football well at all, right? So everything that you do has to be in line with being into a 3rd and manageable situation so that you can try to convert. Because the way your operation is set up offensively, if you get into a 2nd and 9 because you ran it on 1st down and you got 1 yard and then the ball is batted on 2nd and 9 and it's 3rd and 9, you're in trouble. Like you don't even have that margin for error, right? Let alone turning it over. You can't turn it over. Now, if you turn it over, you better get 1 or 2 of them back. Because if you turn it over, that's a death sentence for you. Your formula all season long when you've won, force turnovers, protect the football. And even in those situations, they're like the first game of the season, you forced 3 turnovers of the Vikings, you turned it over no times, and you won by 3 points. That is who you are. And to me, I felt like the final drive of the game was a microcosm. The second to last drive, excuse me. The one where it was 24-10 and you started backed up on your own 1 yard line. I felt like that was a microcosm of the Bucs offensively this season as a whole. Like they got that football with over 11 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, like close to 12 minutes. It took them from the 11:48 mark all the way to the 3-minute mark, essentially, to get the ball from the 1 yard line to the Bills' 47, 52 yards. It took them like 19 plays, it felt like. It was like more like 16 plays to go 52 yards. And they needed the help of the Bills, 2 penalties on 4th down to even get those 52 yards. It took them 9 minutes, essentially. 8 minutes, excuse me. Almost 9 minutes of real clock. Not real time. Clock. Game clock. To go 52 yards in 16 plays. And that was with the aid of 2 Bills penalties on 4th downs that they did not convert on their own. That is their offense. In a nutshell. It's at times hard to watch. And it's not for a lack of weapons. They got stuff. I like Cade Otton. We know what Godwin is. We know Mike Evans sometimes drops the football, but he also makes some plays. But they got stuff. But that's their offense. They can't run it. And I like Rachaad White. But they can't run it for whatever reason. And their offense is so, like, you look at all their defense is good. Like, Todd Bowles didn't forget how to call defense. His guys are still out there flying around, and they're smart. That's the thing I love about a Todd Bowles system is guys are smart. Like that 4th down play that they stopped Buffalo from converting on the 1 yard line, that's a touchdown against most defenses because they're not smart enough to communicate down by the goal line, right? And tight end goes in motion. He's got the linebacker has him one-on-one. Linebacker can't get out there. They communicate. He tells the corner on the outside, hey, you take him. Josh Allen just knows there's no way he can fight through all this traffic to get to the tight end who went in motion, and now he's running a quick speed cut to the outside. This is a walk-in touchdown against probably 95% of NFL defenses because they won't communicate here. And then when he scores, the linebacker will either look exhausted trying to look to catch up, or he'll look at a guy and say, hey, what the F, bro? Why you ain't help me out? Well, because you didn't tell me. Well, White screams to the corner out there, hey, Jamel, get him, switch. And Jamel Dean undercuts it, knocks it down, incomplete, turnover on downs. That's smart football, bro. I know for one, my team's giving up a touchdown in that situation because we ain't switching shit. We ain't communicating. That's a touchdown. They had a similar play where they play in and out coverage on a 3rd down that forced them to kick a field goal early in the game. This similar route. You got Stephon Diggs in a bunch formation, all right, in a bunch set. He's running an out. They got all kinds of traffic and interference, natural picks being run, and the Bucs just play in and out coverage. The inside corner has the first breaking out. The innermost defender has the first in breaking route. And they just in and out that thing beautifully. The corner takes the out, switches, boom, tackle, kick the field goal. Smart football. That's a good defense. They held the Lions to what, 20 points? You look at what this defense has done this season. They're in ball games. It's not the defense. It's their inability to score points. They lost the game last week, giving up 16 points. Offense could only muster 13. When you look at what they've done defensively this season, they're good on defense. They're good. You know, I think about the Eagles game earlier this season. That defense played well. They picked off Jalen Hurts twice. Problem was the offense gave it right back and only scored 11 points. It's a shame because I think defensively they're good enough to be right in the mix. But offensively, they are who they are. And that's going to get them every time. They got a good punter in Jake Camarda, and that's going to help that defense. But again, unless they start scoring defensively or creating more turnovers, and they've been creating some turnovers this season, but creating short fields. Like they can't be turnovers where the other team's driven the football into your territory and they throw a pick at the 11-yard line and now your offense has to go 89 yards for a touchdown. It needs to be where you're picking off a pass and they start at the plus 29-yard line and all they got to do is go 29 yards for a touchdown. You got to start putting the shit on the platter for them. That's what the Steelers defense does. Because their offense has been anemic this season, but they find ways to win. Why? Because their defense shows up in the biggest spots and sets the table for either they score it themselves and say, to hell with the offense, we got it, or they set the table for the offense. That's what this Bucs defense is going to have to do until their offense is able to catch up. And I don't know if that's going to happen. When you are incapable of running the football, I don't even know if they tried tonight. It's almost getting to the point where they're like, to hell with the run. We know we can't do it, so why even try? You know, Rachaad White didn't even have a terrible game, but he did have a 15-yard run that bolstered his average. But 9 carries for 39 yards. That's over 4 yards a pop. Now, he did have a 15-yarder, as I mentioned in there, so that kind of balloons that average, makes it look a lot better than what it probably was. But you can tell there's no concerted effort here to run the football. None whatsoever. When your leading tailback has 9 carries on the night, it tells you all you need to know. So they don't try to run the football. And Rachaad White is also your leading receiver in the game. That's a problem. But that is why the Bucs offense is what it is. When your running back is your leading wide receiver in catches on the game and yards, that's why your offense struggles. Because your running back should not be your leading receiver unless he caught a screen for 72 yards and a touchdown, or he had a big wheel route up the sideline for 47 yards. He shouldn't be leading your team on dink and dunkers underneath. That's what Rachaad White is leading the team in tonight, catching the football underneath. Anyway, Bucs are now 3-4, and luckily enough for them, they play in a terrible division. So it's better than I thought it was going to be at this point of the season, but it's still not a good division. The Panthers are the worst team in football. The Saints aren't very good. Neither are the Falcons. The Falcons may be the best of the group, but they're just as inconsistent as everybody else in the division is. And so you're right. You're still right there. The Falcons are what, 4-3? You're literally a game back, and you'll be either a half game back or a game and a half behind them, depending on the outcome of their game this weekend against Tennessee. But you're right in the mix. I don't think you're going to be able to score enough points. That's what's going to ultimately be your undoing this season, is the inability to score. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section and we can get out of here. Duncan 2017, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Really appreciate you joining the mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Duncan 2017 some love and welcome him with open arms to the MOB. Welcome to the squad, Duncan 2017. Mike Jank, been a member for 12 months. Big shout out to you for making it a year. Who writes, Louie Lou, my 1 year Annie. Shout out to the mob. Absolutely. Really appreciate you. Oh, and by the way, someone told me they had emailed you their picks this week. I seen it, and I'm gonna input those picks. So no worries there. Thank you for being a member, a loyal member for a year. Really appreciate you. And you've been a very pleasant Eagles fan, one of the very few to talk to. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, Lou, what's good, man? What's good with you, video channel? How would you feel about Ken Dorsey as Washington's next head coach? No, I don't even like the job he's doing in Buffalo. So no, I would not be interested in that at all whatsoever. If we're complaining about running a football now, I think you'd be in the same boat. Like, I know it's so hard to find these days, but I actually want a coach that puts an emphasis and a value on running a football and isn't afraid to do it. Like, honestly, you know what I want? And I know this is asking a lot. I want somebody from the Shanahan tree or the McVay tree or somebody that values running the football under center, play action fake, that puts an emphasis on offensive linemen and getting guys that can get the job done and scheming it up that way. Those guys are, I think most of those guys already have jobs. I don't know if there are many more, but you see Mike McDaniel in Miami. Obviously, the success of the Browns can be traced back to Kevin Stefanski. Again, another disciple of that Shanahan tree. You see the offense that they run. Obviously, Kyle is the master at, running that outside zone, zone run blocking scheme and, the play action off of it, the screen game, all of that good stuff. But I just want, even Sean Payton values running the football, right? There's not a lot of those dudes left. A lot of these young coordinators now that don't come from the Shanahan tree all want to get in the gun. They all want to do away with the run. They don't believe in getting under center. They're getting further and further away from the physical side of football. And I think in order to be able to win in this league, you got to be able to do the physical things come, December into January, and then hopefully eventually into February. You got to still be some semblance of a physical football team. And a lot of these younger coordinators get away from the physicality. And I think it's hard to win consistently as you get, deeper into the season, colder football. I think you see those teams struggle, especially in the red zone. I always tell you, the best red zone offenses are the teams that can run the football in the red zone. It's so tough to throw it because it's condensed, a lot of bodies, not a lot of space to operate, it's tighter windows. When you can run the football, it takes so much pressure off your offense. And it's just harder to run because a lot of these teams want to run out of gun. Ken Dorsey's another one of these guys. I'm good. I'll pass on him. I don't even like the job he's necessarily doing in Buffalo. Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mike Jink writes, solid defense, no offense, all NFC South teams. Yeah, for the most part, I've been disappointed with the Saints defense this year. Thought they'd be better defensively, to be honest. They haven't been terrible, but I thought they'd be dominant defensively, and they haven't been. So, but I think you're right about that. I mean, Atlanta's defense has been good this season. Not great, but it's good enough for them to be, where they are, which is leading the division right now. So I think you're right. You think you're probably spot on there about the NFC South teams and how they kind of play ball. They kind of all mirror. And, that's not uncommon for a division. Because generally what you do in a division is you draft players to help you beat the other teams in your division, because that's where it starts. If you can't compete at a high level inside your division, you're not going to win anything of note. So it's not uncommon to see teams kind of mirror one another within a division. Let's see. Derek B writes, J-No on special teams, he would have been a fan favorite if we didn't give him so much money. You know, that's kind of how it goes. He was an impact guy because he forced fumbles. He was one of the few guys that we've seen on Washington's team in the last decade that actually looks to punch the ball out. So he was at least good for that. But the problem was, like you said, he came in with so much fanfare, so much hype because of the money and what he had done the year prior in Carolina. And so much was expected of him. And he delivered early on, you know, that first year, if you recall. But it was that second year that was really bad. And then it kind of just went downhill for him from there. And as you know, the rest is history. But he could have been one of those guys because, again, he made plays. He made plays. Frankie, well, we got a comment here from Chauncey Davis, been a member for 25 months. Matter of fact, 25 months, that's 2 years plus. CD, Chauncey Davis, OG, triple OG, writes, you're the champ, young man. No, that's you. I'm trying to be like you. All right. I'm trying to be like you. You the man. All right. Frankie, yo, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I love Al Michaels, but my man needs to retire. Dude doesn't have it anymore. I know. It's sad when you see one of the greats of the game, you know, coming to the very bitter end. And he lost his fastball a long time ago. That's why NBC moved on from him. But I know I'm probably in the minority here. I'll still take Al Michaels and the fastball that looks like a changeup now, because that fastball is probably coming in there at 84 miles an hour now. It looks like a changeup. And it's bad at times, you know, because sometimes he doesn't see what's happening. Sometimes he's slow to react to what's happening. But he's still better than 70% of the dudes doing this shit. Like, seriously. And I know sometimes it's tough because you're like, bro, the analogies usually don't resonate with the younger crowd because he's so much older. So he's talking about shit from the 70s. And like, if you're of a certain age, you get it. But if you're not, you're like, wow, what the hell are you talking about, bro? Like, nobody, and I knew he was being funny, but he called 2 Chainz Deuce. And Kirk was like, did you just call him Deuce? Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, we got a little relationship. And I was like, hey, but yeah, man. At times in the game, you're like, bro, that's not a first down. Bro, that's not a catch. Like, that's not even close to a catch. What are you talking about? Yeah, he's lost his fastball. It hasn't gotten to the point. The worst exit I think I've ever seen was that of Dick Stockton. Like, he went from if you remember when Fox first started with their coverage of the NFL back in, I believe it was 94. I think it was 93, 94, one of those 2 years. Dick Stockton was on the 2 team. He was on the B team. And he was there for a number of years. And then as time wore on, he went from the B to the C team to the D. Then they buried him. And like him, it was either him or Chris Myers doing the Arizona game. They buried his ass at the bottom of the depth chart, right? And then when I would go watch the games, I would know why. It was bad, man. I was like, hey, you got to hang it up, Dick, man. You had a hell of a run, bro. But it's over. Like, Dick was so bad. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. But I just hope, this is what I hope. I hope somebody is able to get to him, because generally when you don't have it anymore, you're the last one to find out. I hope somebody gets in his ear, or he can self-evaluate and say, hey, I'm done. I ain't got no more to give. That's a tough, bitter pill to swallow when you're his age. This is what you've done your entire life, really. And, you know, maybe he doesn't want to stop. I don't think he does. I think he still enjoys doing this. I'd rather you be that guy that says, like Warren Sapp was when he said, hey, they ran that same slow ass play action fake. Frank Winters was able to block me. And I knew it was coming, and I know Frank Winters' ass can't block me. And I knew what play was coming, and I couldn't get there. I knew it was time to hang it up. I could have played another 3 years, but I wasn't going to be me. I hope Al is able to identify when that time comes when he can say, all right, enough's enough. I don't want to have to drag him out kicking and screaming, right? I'm pretty sure he signed some sort of contract with Amazon to call these games on Thursday night, whether it was a 3-year deal or a 4-year deal, whatever. Maybe he just does that contract, sees it through, and then he's done after that. We'll see. But yeah, I get it, man. I get it. The Great Watubi. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Been one for 25 months. He writes, you watch King of Tulsa? No, I've never even heard of it. Don't even know what that is. Don't even know what that is. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, would you ever do a live game after show at a bar/restaurant? I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Highly unlikely that I would do that. I plan on doing something like that for the draft. Having a draft party. Absolutely. A post-game show. I mean, that's pretty random to just pick a random. Now, it'd have to be like a specific game to do it from a bar or restaurant, but like this game, for instance, I mean, what's the significance of doing this one? And I know you're just asking in general, but I wouldn't be opposed to it is essentially what I'm trying to get to is I wouldn't mind doing that, but there's a lot that goes into doing something like that from a restaurant or a bar. You know what I mean? I'd like to get to a point where I can have a team and I can pick an establishment, let you guys know ahead of time, hey, going to be at this spot, doing, watching the game and then, reacting to it live after the game's over or whatever the case may be, and have everybody set everything up. I don't want to just be on my phone or, me taking a couple of things there and trying to set up and not have the right acoustics and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that goes into it, but I'm definitely going to get out the house here shortly. Me and my wife have talked about it. I was so primed and ready to get out of the house. Then COVID happened and I never kind of recovered after that. It's almost like I just got comfortable being in the house and not really pushing the envelope to get out. But I know that I have to get out and I want to. I want to meet a lot of you. I want to, meet you guys face to face in person. So that's something that we are actively working on, and I think it's going to get done in 2024. I firmly believe that. Phil Ricards, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, I miss Madden and Summerall. LOL. Thanks for all you do, Lou. I think we win Sunday. All right. Hope. LOL. Hey. Bless your heart, Phil. I can't do it. I at this point, I feel worse after I pick us to win and we lose than if I pick us to lose and we win. At this point, I just can't take any more L's messing around with this team. So they're gonna have to prove it to me. And this week's it's a tall order, man. It's a tough task because now you got the rumor stuff, swirling around, and guys have already admitted that they're distracted by them. So I don't know. This one could be bad. This one has a chance to be really bad. It's either going to be really good or it's going to be really bad. I don't think this is a close loss like it was the first time. Either we beat them like we did last year in week 9, or they destroy us and our fans leave and they're chanting Fly Eagles Fly and it sounds like a road game and it's ugly and it's 33-7. It's either that or we win, 30-20 or 30-22 or some shit like that. Like, I mean, I don't see that happening personally. So, yeah. Madden and Summerall were one of the best that I've seen do it, in my career. That again, and that was my golden age of when I fell in love with the game of football. So, I'm not putting anybody over Madden and Summerall. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Chauncey Davis, my guy, OG Triple OG writes, what's the uniform colors for Sunday? Burgundy tops, white bottoms. Burgundy tops, white bottoms. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, I'm still pissed. I'm going to run with the squad, but I really can't get over the fact that I got the ball pulled by Lucy again. F out of here, Ron. Yeah, man. I mean, me and my guy Derek B talk about it all the time. I think it's the perfect analogy for being a Washington fan right now. I think it's the best analogy that I've heard in terms of this fan base. We always want to believe, and whether it's one of these win streaks that suck us back in after we thought that, again, as my guy Joe Rockhead, has eloquently put it, false, death. We've had so many of those false deaths over the Ron period that we've gotten accustomed. We actually look for them now, right? Hey, we know the losing streak is coming, but hey, we know a fire win streak is coming thereafter, not too far. And that's the false resurrection. And that usually preempts real death, where your season actually does, in fact, die. Okay. And I don't know if we're going to get the false resurrection this year. I think Ron, being on the hot seat and things kind of just crumbling around him, may ultimately undo him this time. But we'll see. Again, 10 games left. Sunday is a big one. If you have any semblance of hope of making anything of this season, you got to find a way to win on Sunday. I just don't see them doing it, though. So, feel like we always get, and then Ron, I felt like EB was the one that gave us hope to run up and kick the ball this time. And watching him, fail to make adjustments. And, I haven't watched his press conference yet. I haven't watched anything yet today. Obviously, that's why you didn't get a video. Today was a crazy day for me. But you will get a video tomorrow and Saturday to make up for not getting one today. However, I've seen little snippets of what he had to say. He took accountability, which he's done this season. He hasn't shied away from anything. So that's not anything new. But I don't know if he's going to change anything. That's the only thing I am excited about is the offensive line changes that are being made. And I told you Ron was going to do that because Ron has been so easy to read. Like, I know Ron's mannerisms. I know his speech when he's thinking about making a change versus not making a change. So I can tell you things ahead of time before they happen. And we knew that they were going to have to do something at left guard because Sadiq Charles is going to be out. And I already told you that their guard of choice, a lot of you like Chris Paul should be in there. They're not going to play Chris Paul. He's not even active on Sundays. Okay. They want Ricky Stromberg to get on the field because that's why they drafted him. All right. Tyler Larson, while he hasn't been active either, I think he has actually been active on game days. I think he has been active. He's been the backup center. They had Stromberg up because he could play center or guard. If in a pinch, if something happened at the center position, he could go there and they could place musical chairs with the offensive line to accommodate him going to center. But first guy down at the guard position, Stromberg comes in. So Larson is going to be elevated to center. Stromberg is going to go play guard. I still think Wiley should be replaced, but they're not going to do that yet. But I'm excited about that because if they can somehow fortify this offensive line enough to where Sam has time, we know he can be dangerous. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, FYI, my lady agreed with you. You said in a recording restaurant. That being said, I fully expect a dub and seeing Hype Lou on every TV salutes. Yeah, it's not the easiest thing to pull off, but it's you can do it. It's something that can be done, but I want it done right if I'm going to do something like that. You know, I don't want to just go there and be on my cell phone. You can barely hear me. It's loud. Like, I want it to be done the right way. You know what I'm saying? Frankie, yo, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, if we win Sunday, that's a big if. If buts were candy and nuts, oh, what a wonderful world it would be, right? If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, oh, what a wonderful world it would be. But there's still some hope for some of you. If we win on Sunday, it's going to be hard to be excited. The script writers were on strike, so they're just showing us the same movie, and I know how it ends. I mean, you got to admit, if you beat Philadelphia, you're going to be excited about beating the Eagles, but you still know that doesn't mean anything for the prospects of this season turning out the way we want it to. We're smart enough to know that at this point. But I've already said this, and I fully expect us to be in the mix at the end of the season. We're just not going to make the playoffs. So if that is to occur, there's going to have to be 1 or 2 wins against teams you didn't expect to do that. Or else the season goes to shit and there is no chance at the playoffs. So you got to win 1 or 2 of these types of games. Anyway, I don't disagree with you about the script writers. We know how the movie ends. We've watched this movie so many times, which is why we want new writers, right? We want new directors. And you know what? We're willing to get most of the cast overhauled too. Like, we're not opposed to replacing a lot of the cast members. Anyway, let's see. Bills fan 98 says, Kaiir Elam is a healthy scratch again. Can't beat out Josh Norman. Yet another Brandon Beane failed selection. Kaiir Elam had his flaws coming out of Florida, but talented kid. Here's the thing. You're not going to always hit on your draft picks. It sucks even more when it's a first rounder, but you've more than made up for it. Like, I look at it the same way that Mike Mayock, I looked at it at least, but it's hard to do that because nobody cares that you got a guy at that position. All they care about is the fact that the one you drafted in the first round didn't work. You look at what Mike Mayock did in Vegas. You draft Cleveland Farrell with a top 5 pick, and he stinks. But in the third round, you get Max Crosby. Who gives a shit about Cleveland Farrell? When you got if Max Crosby was taken in the first round and Cleveland Farrell was taken in the third, would anybody care? No, because you hit a home run with Max Crosby. But because Crosby was the guy that was supposed to be the afterthought and Cleveland Farrell was supposed to be the stud, now people have an issue. You still got it right. It just was reversed. But people don't see it that way. Kaiir Elam is not what you wanted him to be. They're disappointed in him, obviously, by him being a healthy scratch, I think, for the 5th time this season. However, you got Benton, right? Like, you got Benford. Like, he wasn't supposed to be a beast. You got him in the 6th round out of Villanova. And he's turned out to be really good. So, it's a wash, but nobody's viewing it that way. You want the first round guy to be good. If Benford was the first rounder and Elam was the 6th rounder, would we be having a conversation right now? No. But because one was a first rounder, the other is a 6th rounder, you're still getting production out of a draft pick. That's what's important, if you ask me. But again, it's hard for people to wrap their brains around guys that you spend high dollar draft capital on. I get it. High value draft capital, rather. But again, such is life. These things happen. Anyway, I digress. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, and you know you're on every TV in my house. Salutes. FYI, it said if Washington if was a fifth, we'd all be lit. Yes. If was the fifth, we all be lit. I've heard that one before too. It's just that's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to get out of my mouth. Give me a quick score for Sunday's game. Also, FYI, LB still looks like a pack to smoke Newports. You always say that. It's to the point now where he don't even respond. At first, he used to get mad. He don't even get mad no more. I'm gonna save that for my show. I still haven't even given it thought yet as to because I haven't listened to the players this week yet for real. I haven't because I'm not saying I'm unattached because I'm not. It's just I've been less motivated this week than in prior weeks because it feels like I'm hearing the same shit over and over again. And at some point it falls on deaf ears. And like, I don't want to hear about needing to start fast. I don't want to hear about, we just need to do this or this, we got it. Like we've been hearing this for 4 years. So all I'm really looking for, and I know a lot of the discussion now is surrounding the trade deadline. So that's going to be interesting to see how, the players are responding to that. I know I've seen, again, snippets. I'm going to go watch for myself and see what was said, and listen to the coordinators. They're not going to say anything that's going to move the needle for me. I'm not going to walk away saying, man, EB has resold me again. I'm back on board. At the end of the day, only thing that's going to change the way I feel is not only action, right, but consistency with that action, which I can't. I think I got a real good handle on who is what by now. That can change. Again, EB's only in 7 games in, but it's just disappointing that we've gotten to this point and he doesn't have a better feel for what needs to be done. But anyway, I digress. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel writes, Lou, could we get some older and current album reviews on MusicHead U? Requesting a lot of work from you tonight. Appreciate it for sure. I'm cooking up some stuff for MusicHead U. It's been a little while since I've been able to get over there. And sometimes I'm just spent. And I got everything lined up the way I want. And then, there was one week where I was so determined to get some MusicHead content out. And then my kids got sick. And one of them spent 3 out of 5 days with me. And then I finally get the house back to myself. And now I'm swamped with all the work from the 3 days that they were home that I didn't necessarily get to do. And now MusicHead gets pushed back. Anytime something gets put on the back burner, it's going to be MusicHead because that doesn't make me any money right now. So I can't push LouieTeeNetwork stuff aside or even NFC East Super Friends stuff aside. That stuff actually brings in revenue. MusicHead doesn't yet. Until it does, which I mean is chicken or the egg. If I'm not putting in any content over there, I'm not putting in the effort, it's hard for it to then yield me, any revenue. But it's hard to put that at the forefront when something's got to get pushed to the side. But I got some stuff lined up, man, and my kid, I'm taking the kids down to grandparents' house this weekend. I think that's going to allow me a window of opportunity to get some stuff done. So I'm hoping, and I got my fingers crossed, that I can churn out some videos and have some MusicHead content for you guys moving forward. But we'll see. Anyway, I digress. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, when you're going to open up the phone lines again? Mega can't be the only one in the Cherry Squad that needs therapy. Salute, brother. I was going to open them up Thursday, and I was done. I think I had the glasses on, or I was going to open it up on Tuesday, excuse me. I was done on Tuesday. Done. That's why I had the glasses on. I was struggling, man. So they're gonna. I'm gonna open up the phone lines at some point again. I'll let you guys know when it happens, but it'll be sometime in the future. We'll see. There's gonna be so much to talk about. There'll be many opportunities to do it. Phil Ricards, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I suppose that we got rid of Snyder. That's a winning season. I told you there was no way we could come out of this thing feeling like losers. You could be disappointed, but the fact that Snyder's no longer the owner, you can't rain on our parade this year, because that's the biggest step that we needed to take. Now, I always tell you, I want to win. And EB gave me a false sense of hope that could happen this year. And I don't think it is, but if out of all of this, we get ourselves a quarterback, and that's why I gave you guys that poll question before the season started, gave you guys 4 or 5 different scenarios. The one that seems to be playing out right now is this team's going to fall short of the playoffs, but Sam Howell establishes himself as a guy that at least deserves another opportunity with the new regime. He establishes himself as a quarterback capable of being a starter in this league, and you don't have to move on from him. That is, again, now my aim and my focus has shifted to making sure everyone knows, hey, Sam Howell can do this. So that's where I'm at with mine. We'll see if he continues to show what I know is there, and I've seen through the first 7 games, his first 8 starts of his career. But again, the consistency is what we're lacking with Sam right now. And some of it's on him, some of it's on the staff, some of it's on the players around him. Everyone gets a share in the blame. So I just need Sam to be more consistent. When he gets opportunities with a clean pocket, he can't miss, because those opportunities are so few and far between. When he gets them, he's got to operate at maximum efficiency. And that's such a tough ask. You get your ass whooped for 3 quarters, and then they finally start blocking, and you start figuring some shit out, and now I need you to be perfect. That's a tough ask. But that's where we at with it. And he's got to understand, when you get an opportunity with a clean pocket and an open receiver, you got to hit him. You got to hit him. He says, what about Montez, Lou? What would you like as a comp? Sounded like he was going. I've already said, I made it abundantly clear. It's going to take a 2 for me. And if you're desperate, a 3. Because, and somebody brought up, you're not guaranteed to get a compensatory pick. You're not, but you pretty much are. Defensive ends, cornerbacks, and quarterbacks are going to net you. And the formula is funky, but all we know is it's how much you spend versus how much guys that left your team ended up, getting in the free agent market. There's no way that if you let Chase Young or Montez Sweat hit the free agent, that they're not going to get broken off and get big dollars. There's no way we're going to go out and sign guys that are going to counteract that. It's just not happening. We're going to get a compensatory pick back, and it's going to be a damn good one. It's probably going to be in the 3rd round. That's my guess. So if you can't fetch anything better than a 3rd round pick, then I wouldn't move it. But again, if you're desperate and you want that pick in 2024, because the compensatory pick you're not going to get until 2025. If you're desperate enough and you want that pick now, then you can take a 3rd. I wouldn't take a 3rd for Montez Sweat. I'm in a position to play hardball. If you want him bad enough, because if you don't trade for him, if you don't give me what I'm asking for, you're going to have to fight with teams in the offseason to get him. And you're going to have to cough up dollars to do it. I'm just asking for a 2nd round pick for a chance for you to not have to worry about fighting with anybody else over him and his services. Ask yourself this: are you going to find a defensive end in the draft next year in the 2nd round that can come in and help you like Montez Sweat can possibly come in and help you right now? If the answer is no, give me your 2nd round pick and let's stop having all this discussion. If that's what ultimately is going to happen. Again, Sunday is going to determine a lot. Sunday is going to determine a lot. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, lend me $500, bro. Wait a minute. You good for the five. I should be asking you for $500. Your name is Big Money Sonny. You the big baller, not me. You got shoes that's worth more than me, bro. Worth more than my whole entire brand. In your closet, I should be asking you for some bread. Says, I need my donos back. Where's Luck been? Real talk. Who do you really like in management within the current regime? There's a couple of guys that I like, but they also were a part of the brain trust that, thought that it was a good idea to draft Quan Martin in the second round, thought it was a good idea to draft Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez, things of that nature that I wasn't necessarily on board with. But again, once it happens, I'm a ride, because there's no reason to now root against the guy just because I didn't believe in the decision that they made. They made it. I'm a ride with it. And if it doesn't work, then I can second guess it after the fact. Because you know where I stood before. You saw the draft video. I got all excited because I thought we were getting Christian Gonzalez. But, it is what it is, right? If we would have got Gonzalez, he would, and who knows if he would have gotten hurt here. But if we would have gotten Christian Gonzalez, our secondary would be a lot better. That's just what it is. But I still believe in Emmanuel Forbes and that he can end up being a good football player. But what's my guy's name? I like him a lot. The bald-headed black dude that is really big. I think he's more so like player personnel, but he's heavy on the draft. We hear from him around draft time a lot. I don't know why his name is escaping me. I can see his face, but he's a sharp guy. I like him a lot. But again, his fingerprints, just like Ron and Martin Mayhew and Marty Herney, his fingerprints are all over this draft, and this hasn't been a successful draft at this point. So I know they hired a guy. I got to do my homework on this guy that they hired. But obviously you can see the wheels turning. Like, they're bringing in guys that are analytics based, and I'm not a big analytics guy, but that's the future of the NFL. That's where this thing is going. It's predicated on numbers. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not, oh man, get off my lawn. Anything that can help this team improve and catch up with the rest of the league, I'm all for it. You should have an analytics guy, in your ear. His decision making shouldn't be the end all be all, but you should be able to take some of that stuff into consideration when making decisions. And because Ron clearly has not had, he claimed to have an analytic. Ron has never had an analytics guy. I don't give a shit what he says, because his decisions never are rooted in numerical data. They're rooted in whatever his gut tells him to do. And then if it fails, he'll use analytics as the excuse. You're like, no, that's not. Literally, analytics said the opposite to do what you did. So clearly that's not true. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I wish I could have picked up Chase's fifth-year option so we could have franchised Sweat and see how they played under a different coach. And if it didn't work out, they could be a part of the next dead season. DJ, what did I say before the season? In the offseason, when it came time to pick up fifth-year option, I said, to me, the risk is greater to not pick up the fifth-year option on Chase than to pick it up. Those were my exact words. I said it over and over again because I said, I don't know what Chase is going to be this year. I don't know if he'll be fully healthy, if he'll be dominant, whatever. But how much it's going to cost you if he is dominant versus if he's not will pale in comparison. It was $17 million to pick up his fifth-year option. And I get it. If we were talking about one sack Chase Young struggling to get to the quarterback, not playing well, that $17 million would loom large. But now we're talking about 5-6 sack Chase Young, constantly getting to the quarterback, looking like he's on pace to set a career high in sacks for himself. And now either you're going to have to slap the franchise tag, which is going to cost you more than the $17 million it would have cost you to have him under contract next year, or you have to sign him to a very lucrative deal a year sooner than you were going to have to do it had you picked up his 5th-year option. And I don't know if Chase is one of those types of players that, blurs the lines of business and personal, but he could easily take it personal that these dudes didn't believe in him enough to pick up his 5th-year option and say, I don't even want to be here. So who knows what's going through Chase's mind? They might trade his best friend. He may not want to even be here. And so he may not even be willing to do a long-term deal with these dudes. I think it is going to be important that the next staff that comes in here, the next GM that comes in here, unlike when Ron got here and alienated everybody under the sun, including Trent Williams and Brandon Sheriff, and pissed people off, instead of coming in and saying, hey, I need you to be one of my leaders. Hey, Trent Williams, I need you to come back home. Like, you're going to be the foundational piece that we build around. You're the best tackle in football, and we need you back here in Washington. F what Bruce Allen and all of that. But again, Snyder was still here. He had an axe to grind with Trent, and that might have influenced Ron's, decision-making on that whole situation. Ron screwed the pooch there. If I'm the next GM and Chase, let's say Chase ends the season with 12.5 sacks and he looks dominant, the first order of business as a new GM is to come in here and say, hey, Chase, you were number 2 pick in the league, drafted here in Washington for a reason. You're a hometown kid. You're one of the best defensive ends in football. We think the world of you, and we want to build around you. We want you here. That's what needs to be said. But again, how's it going to turn out? I don't know. But I always said in the offseason, and I believe this, and I know it's easier said than done. $17 million is a lot of money. But I was a huge advocate of, hey, it's going to cost you a lot more if he's good if you don't pick up the 5th-year option. I just thought, to me, when you weigh the risk and the reward, the pros and the cons, it just made too much sense to pick up the 5th-year option. They didn't do it. And now look what's happening. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't see this happening, which is why I was an advocate for picking up the 5th-year option. But such is life. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny. Right. Trap game for Philly? ? Shout out to Abel Ambrosio. That being said, shout out to Abel Ambrosio, my guy, AA. He said, with that said, I fully expect a dub. F that. Let's get it, Lou. We smoking Newports on Sunday. I did the same thing yesterday. I went in knowing we ain't winning shit. Then they started talking shit. It got on, and I knew this was going to happen. And I tried to guard against it, and I did for like the first 2 hours, and then I finally broke. And I was like, man, F that. We beating y'all on Sunday. It can happen. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't see it happening. But we had them on the ropes before, so we know it's very plausible. But a lot of things got to go right for us to beat them on Sunday. And right now, I just don't have the confidence that those things are going to go right. So we're approaching our hour and 20-minute mark. I'll take a couple more comments and we'll get out of here. Metaphor says, well, the Bucs are 3-4. Sell everything, fire everyone. Season's over. I get that you're being facetious here. Tongue firmly planted in cheek. But here's what you're missing and what's different about their situation. They play in a very bad division, arguably one of the worst in football this year. The winner of that division may win 9 games. That is not the division that we play in. Thus, we are not in the same position that the Bucs are in. Somebody's going to get a ticket to the dance by default in that division. There's not an option. Somebody's got to go play playoff football, whether they deserve it or not. Meanwhile, we lose on Sunday, and we're 3-4 right now, and everybody's all gloom and doom. But we started the season off 2-0, just like the Bucs did, and we had our opportunities. But we see what's happening here. The Bucs don't have a front office in transition and turmoil. They don't have new ownership. It's not a situation where we know Todd Bowles is going to be fired at the end of the season. He may get fired, but we don't know that. Ron is fired. Jack is gone. EB probably won't be here. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. A little bit different. A lot different, actually. A lot different. Let's see. Got a comment here from Derek B. Kincaid sure would have made Sam's life easier. Was that a hot read to their best receiver at the end of the game? I don't know if it was a hot read or not, but they knew where to go at the end of the game when the game was on the line on 3rd and 5. They knew where to go. I mean, that's the shit that I struggle with is why do we make things complicated? I already told you, football isn't that hard. I think people make it harder than it needs to be. I'm going to my best guy. If they don't take him away, I'm going to my best guy on 3rd and 5 with the game on the line. Why is that so hard? We want to go through the progressions, and we don't care who gets the football because it's the system. That's that Scott Turner shit. That's the shit I can't get with. It's not your system, it's players. Think players, not scheme when it comes to critical situations in the game. And yes, Dalton Kincaid would have made Sam's life a lot easier. But again, you don't have to spend a first-round pick on a tight end to get production. As I've mentioned before, the best tight ends in the league aren't first-round picks. None of them are. So most of them are third-round picks, by the way. I think Kittle might have been a second-round pick. But you don't have to spend a first-round pick on a tight end to get excellent production. Just you have to take one in the first 2 days, preferably day 2. We keep shooting for the day 3 tight ends, the John Bates, the Cole Turners. We keep shooting for those dudes. So you get day 3 production a lot of times. And oh, by the way, none of those guys are like tremendous athletes either. I think Cole Turner is a better athlete, but he's not a great run after the catch guy, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But I still think he needs more opportunities. I mean, damn. It's ridiculous. HTTR for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, bold prediction, we're going to beat Philly 28-24. I mean, again, that sounds great. Don't see it happening, but I'd love to see it happen. Phil Ricards, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Phil writes, really enjoyed the NFC East Super Friends. You, the New York and Dallas guy, are especially funny. I broke bones and had nerve damage playing football. I truly love it, though. We appreciate you, man. And football is a physical sport, man. I don't think people really truly appreciate what these guys put their bodies through to entertain us. I know they make a ton of money, and everybody's like, yeah, well, they know what they signed up for, and that's true too. But these guys they're really warriors, unlike baseball players, and their grind is a little bit different because it's 162 games, right? You're spending 8 months at a time playing ball, starting in spring, right? You know, some of them in winter, right? And it's just a grind playing a $162, but it's not as physically demanding. You know, football, you're crashing into another human being at high rates of speed 17 times a year. And for some positions like offensive and defense, you're crashing into a dude, not necessarily at a high rate of speed, but you're crashing into a dude on every single snap. So yeah, it can be really physically demanding, and it can be tough on the body. But I'm glad you enjoyed the Super Friends stream, and I know I enjoy, and I can't speak for the fellas, but I think I can in this instance. They enjoy doing it just as much as I do. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, question, Lou, what's up with Wild Goose? Need to rock that jersey again. Do you think we get some turnovers on Newport's favorite AB? We need 3 to win. I don't know. I mean, turnovers help. We didn't force any last time, which was part of the problem. If we'd forced just a single turnover, we probably beat them. But we forced none in that game. But the thing too that saved us is we didn't turn it over either. So we'll see what happens. Wild Goose is cooked, man. He's no longer on the loose. I don't even know if he's on the practice squad or not. I'm not sure where he resides these days, but it'd have to be a damn near disaster, where it'd be a disaster area where we got to put on the hazmat suits for him to get out there in the secondary. Like a lot of shit would have to transpire for him to get on the field. Let's hope that we never get to that point. I mean, and again, I don't even know if the man's on the practice squad or not. He could just flat out be on the streets right now or somewhere else around the league. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, Alex trolling, he's still a B. It's all love. He knows he gets love from us, but still, F him. Alex knows I haven't seen Alex in a while, but I know he's around. But Alex, he knows it's all love over here, man. We get on him sometimes, but Alex is a good dude. It's not a lot of those Eagles fans that are actually good dudes. Most of them, peas for their brain, peas for a brain. They're sheep. They don't really know what the hell is going on. They kind of just listen to other people and regurgitate what they heard. But there's actually some well-spoken, thoughtful Eagles fans that do exist. And I love talking to those ones, and Alex is one of them. Mike Jink. There's several of them that I've talked to over the years that I'll definitely rock with. With that said, let's see. Sean Blake writes, every time they panned to Mike Evans, he was running a 10-yard out route at about 50% effort. Dude looks checked out. That's just how Mike Evans looks, but he might be checked out. Remember, he gave them an ultimatum before the season started. He wanted to finish his career as a Buck, and they told him, hey, we'll talk about it after the season. He's like, nah, ain't nothing to talk about after the season. So he's pissed. I thought a team like Kansas City might have picked up the phone. Like, if you're serious about going back to back, that's the kind of move you needed to make. But again, what would it take to pry Mike Evans away from Tampa? And the worst thing that could have happened for Tampa was they started 2-0 and then 3-1. So it made it a lot less likely that they would be sellers at the trade deadline. Had they started out the season like we thought they were going to, 0-2, and struggled out of the gates, and now instead of them being 3-4, they were 1-6, Mike Evans would definitely be on the trade block. But they're still 3-4, and as I mentioned already, they're right in the division mix. I don't think they're selling anything at this point. So, and you know what? For as good as Mike Evans has been in his career and he struggled this year with drops and shit. So I don't know. Anyway, I think we got a couple more supers and then we'll get out of here. Or we got one more. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Double up. As a matter of fact, thank you for doubling up, DJ23, who writes, I almost choked somebody out for saying we should start Brissett, LOL. It's no need to get physical, man. There are going to be people who legitimately don't like Sam or just think that a lot of the sacks are on him and EB's system can run smoother with a veteran quarterback that gets the ball out of his hands. But I'm like, you do know one of Brissett's kryptonites is holding on to the damn ball too long and taking sacks, right? Like this is the problem I have with a lot of people. They don't actually know what they're talking about. Like part of the Jacoby Brissett narrative is he holds on to the ball too long. So you want to go to a guy that we already know what he is as a starting quarterback in this league. He's already had multiple opportunities to prove people wrong that he is a starter. No better chance than last year with the Browns. And he hasn't been able to do it. So we know what he is. We know what he is and what he isn't. So the people that want to go to Brissett, people just like to do things just for the sake of change. Not because they actually know anything about the change that they're making. They just want to be able to say, well, this isn't working, so let's just do this. And again, those people, I don't have anything to say to them. So I just keep it pushing. Anyway, I digress. Y'all know what it is. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Thursday Night Football Overtime. Bills get it done, not without a little bit of a scare at the end, unnecessarily, if you ask me. If they make these things harder on themselves than they need to, but at the end of the day, a win's a win's a win in the National Football League, and they get it done 24-18 over the Bucs. Get back in the win column. They're now 5-3. Are the Bills just a half game behind the just a game behind, the Miami Dolphins, who will play on Sunday, and we'll see what they ultimately do, whether they win or not. If they lose, I think they're a half game. Matter of fact, I think the Dolphins are 5-2. If they lose, they'll be tied with the Dolphins at 5-3 for the division lead. And being that they already beat Miami, they would leap to the front of the line. So big win for Buffalo. Every win in the league is big. And if you're Tampa Bay, this is who you are. And if you give up 24, most weeks you're gonna lose the game because you're just not offensively, strong enough to score 24 points. You got to keep opponents to 20 points or less to have a realistic shot, I believe, on a weekly basis. I know because your team looks a lot like the team we had last year with Taylor Heineke. Like Baker Mayfield, Taylor Heineke. Mayfield is way more talented, much bigger arm, all of that good stuff. But I think they're similar in terms of their heart, how they play the game, etc. And their offense looks a lot like our offense last year. Got to find a way to produce something. They don't run the football well enough, and they're not going to score a lot of points. Their defense is good enough to give them a shot, but they just aren't good enough offensively. They're going to have to win a lot of low-scoring games. And if they can't do that, they won't win. So, anyway, I digress. One more for the road. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, got to give it to you. Baked ZD Fuller is a baller. I kept trying to tell y'all, man. I know y'all couldn't stand him, man. I'm like, he's a good football player. Like, I know good football players when I see him. Like, especially with, it's one thing when you're projecting like I am with Sam. So there's a debate to be, like Kendall Fuller had enough of a body of work for me to be comfortable saying, hey, I can't go with the crowd on this one. If I got to step out here on this branch by myself, I will. But I know this man can play ball. Y'all tripping. He's a good NFL corner. Any chance we can keep him at safety for longevity? I've already said I would love to re-sign Kendall Fuller. The only thing that makes me a little nervous about him is he got a knee issue from college. We all know he had a surgery. That's what made him a third-round pick. Kendall Fuller, without the injury, probably is a first-round type of corner, but had the major injury in college, and that gave a lot of people pause, ended up as a third-round pick. And he takes days off during the week for his knee. Now, I don't know if it's bothering him or if they just know it's better for, the maintenance of the knee, whatever, but that's something to take into consideration. I still like him so much as a football player that I'm willing to, if he's willing to do a reasonable deal, I'd be willing to do a reasonable deal with him, to keep him on the roster, because I think he could transition to safety very, very easily. Like, I think that could be a seamless transition. I mean, he played some safety for the Chiefs when they won the Super Bowl, so we know he can do it. I still think there's a couple of years of solid corner play left in him before he even have to entertain the idea of making that transition. So I like him. I don't know if the next regime would love him, but we'll see what happens. I'll just say that. HTTR for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I've been preaching that Fuller is a dog forever. Some of us have been pounding the table trying to spread the word, spread the gospel about Kendall Fuller, but actions speak louder than words. And it took a while, but people finally got to see that don't nobody else bust up the screen game. Don't nobody else at the cornerback position on this team tackle like Kendall Fuller. Doesn't anybody else on this team make plays on the football like Kendall Fuller? If not for Kendall Fuller, we don't have interceptions from the cornerback position on our team. It's as simple as that. Every year, it's Kendall Fuller leading the team in picks. If we get a pick six, it's Kendall Fuller. So, Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, before last week, I had a friend who's an Eagles fan that compared us to the Lions. We ain't nowhere near that. Give me a quick offseason prediction. Well, we're nowhere near the Lions because they've already built the infrastructure and foundation of what they want to be. I still think they got to upgrade the quarterback position at some point. And maybe they've already done that with, drafting the Tennessee kid, Hendon Hooker. Maybe they've already done that, right? And they got the future of their franchise already on their roster. However, between their GM, Brad Holmes, who has done an excellent job since coming over from the Rams, and we saw the draft, and we keep pointing to the Lions' first and second round picks. They've got 3 of them from this past year's draft. Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Sam Laporta are their 3 picks in the first 2 rounds, and those guys are key contributors right now. And we look at what they've done, and we say that's kind of what you strive to be. They got a coach that is as passionate, but also as aggressive as it gets. We saw the fake punt against the Chiefs at his own 18-yard line, like in week 1 against the defending Super Bowl champs on the road. If that ain't saying, F it, I believe in my boys, I don't give a shit, let's do it. What does? What says it more than that? Because if it doesn't work, you're crucified. It works, you're a genius, but just the balls it takes to say, hey, we running this. When's the last time we ran a fake? Fake anything. We used to do it with Tress. When Jay was the coach, we ran fake punts with Tressway all the time. When's the last time? Has Ron even attempted a fake anything? Now that we're sitting here talking about it, have we attempted a fake field goal, a fake punt, a trick, a onside kick out of nowhere? Have we done any of that? Hell no. We won't even go for it on 4th and 2. So we're not even close to them. We got to overhaul the entire front office, get a coach in here that speaks to these players and is able to convey a message that is universally accepted as this is who we are, and then show it on the field. Until we do that, because we got talent. I've already said that. Still a long ways to go in terms of filling this roster out, but we got enough guys that can be foundational pieces, but we don't have the leadership. And it starts at the top. All season, I can't tell you what's going to happen in the offseason. I wish I could. I can't even tell you what's going to happen this weekend. This team is so inconsistent. I can't tell you anything. JLG, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. JLG writes, PFF has Fuller as our highest graded defender. I think he's in the 90s. I don't give 2 ham sandwiches about what PFF thinks. I could care less. I know what my eyes tell me. That's my grading system, my eyes. And my eyes have told me over and over again, Kendall Fuller is the best corner you got. So that's what matters. And I know some of you guys hold PFF in high regard, and that's fine. I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't, subscribe to. I just don't. So I don't need them to tell me he's good. I know. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, how are we going to fix this ish? One shrewd move at a time. I look at it like this. We just need to keep stacking bricks, man. Keep just a slab of cement, then put a brick down. Another brick down. And then until you build it all the way around, and then another slab of cement, right? Another slop of cement, plop another brick down. We just brick by brick. That's how we're going to build this thing. Brick by brick. He says, I know you're tired of hearing this from me, but I'm exhausted. I don't understand how these young bulls are fans. Hey, man. There are times where I ask myself, you sure you want to do this? And the answer is always the same. That's a fleeting thought. It never is something that, because this is just, it's ingrained in me at this point. I don't have a choice. You know, some people can put it down and like, I'm sick of this team, and they can put it down and literally spend their Sunday at the beach and don't think twice about it. Check their phone, you know, at 4:30, see that we lost or we won, and keep it pushing, and doesn't affect them. I can't do that. I'm not built that way. So, a lot of the young fans do have a choice. And a lot of them aren't choosing Washington. And the ones that are fans have been fans for a while now, and they haven't seen a winner. This is all they know. So it's tough on them, but it's one thing if you've seen the glory years and now you're seeing this. It's worse for those people because they know what this used to be and what it could actually look like when done correctly. The people who don't know, how do you miss something you've never had? I always tell people that. You can't miss something you've never had. They've never had a real winner, so they don't know what they're missing. They just know they want to win. They want to feel and experience what Eagles fans have experienced over the last couple of years. They want that. But they don't know that what they're missing because they've never had it for real. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Thursday Night Football overtime. Bills get the win, 24-18. They're 5-3. And with the Dolphins loss this weekend, they could be in first place with the Dolphins. Meanwhile, the Bucs have lost yet again. They're now 3-4 on the season, and they're searching for answers. I don't really know if there's much they can do at this point. They are who they are. They just got to find ways to win football games. That's really what it boils down to. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I live on a beach, and I'm still rocking with this trash. What the F, Lou? Salutes, brother. Thank you for a great live stream. Peace and love, brother. Likewise, man. Likewise. You have it injected in your veins too, and you can't get rid of it, bro. It just is what it is. Like, you know how they say you can't help the person you love, you know. You can help who you choose as a team, but if you had that ingrained in you from a young age, you didn't really get, like, my son doesn't have a choice. I mean, he could change his mind as he gets older, but he's a Commanders fan, right? And I told you I got a story to tell. I'm going to tell y'all that story at some point. But my son, he doesn't have a choice. He's a Commanders fan. And if he loves it as much as I do, he'll be a Commanders fan. And it may be the worst decision I ever make in my life, turning my son into a Commanders fan and exposing him to this foolishness. But because Daniel Snyder is no longer the owner, I don't feel bad. I have restored and renewed hope that change is going to come, and my son won't have to endure 25 years of shit like I did. So here's to that. Cheers. Anyway, y'all get out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow for a fresh episode of CNN and a Louie T Network podcast episode. Hopefully, my day tomorrow is going to be crazy, but we'll see. Anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. God bless, and good night.